All right, thank you. I'm really pleased to be here presenting on behalf of Josh Byrne and Associates, but also all the project partners here. So Landcorp, the site developer, Department of Water, Environment Regulation, Water Corporation, and Josh Byrne and Associates. Josh Byrne and Associates are actually the lead sustainability, urban water and landscape architect consultants for the site. So that was where we came into it. I'm presenting on behalf of Josh Byrne, and he's actually interstate for work at the moment, and Stuart Dallas. He's actually on extended leave, so I'm taking on the role today to tell you the WGV story. My role is a urban and social sustainability consultant with JBA, but my background, I previously came from a role looking at social science research in CSIRO's Land and Water Division. So this is a great project, and it really excites me, particularly given the holistic integrated water management approach, which I'll go through in some detail. So just to get started, a little bit of background about the site. So WGV is located in Whitegum Valley in the city of Fremantle. It's a 2.2 hectare site, so it's a medium density mixed infill development. It's got a mixture of about 5 multi-res lots and then 23 residential lots, so there should be about 100 dwellings all up on the site. I think really key to the underlying philosophy of WGV was that right from the start with Landcorp's discussions was that sustainability and innovation really were a key to the site and really needed to be demonstrated throughout, and WGV is actually one of Landcorp's innovation through demonstration sites, and I'll explain more about that later on as I give some examples about how they've actually delivered that. But lots of exciting principles throughout the site, and I guess to deliver all these initiatives that we see, the One Planet Living sustainability framework was chosen as kind of that overarching sustainability assessment framework. So there's 10 core principles. They don't have time today to go through them all, but if you've got any questions afterwards about any of the specifics apart from water, come and let me know. So I'm just going to focus on obviously the sustainable water aspect today, but loads of stuff going on at the site to tick all those boxes. And actually WGV has become one of WA's first One Planet Living communities. That's an international accreditation and a really great outcome for the project. So I guess one of the key things when we're looking at the One Planet Living framework was that some precinct modelling took place, and we looked at having energy efficiency and water efficiency targets there. So we're looking at around a 60% reduction in energy use compared to the metro average, and around 70% reduction for water. So they're big targets there. This water reduction target here is broken down into the components, and I really love this graph because I think it depicts that holistic approach that the site's really undertaken with its water efficiency. So we can see there the Perth average, and then we can see these are all the initiatives down the bottom here, which I'll touch on briefly throughout the presentation. So already we can see a reduction in water use due to just the density savings. So that medium density infill development, already you've got the smaller garden sizes, so therefore reduce water. We've got indoor efficiency targets, and I'll talk about those, how they were mandated through the design guidelines, which is a really key initiative of the site. We've got landscape efficiency, so really careful landscape design, looking at water-wise plants and hydrozoning, that sort of thing. Behaviour change and metering, so we can really track how people are actually using their water over time with real-time data gathering. Rainwater harvesting and the community groundwater bore. So the community bore is a non-potable water supply, so reducing mains water consumption for the supply of not just the public open space within WGV, but also we've got private connection to the residential lots, so that's a really key water saving there. So once again, the background there is this is the water balance. So all the careful research that went into the design of all of the initiatives really stem from looking at this holistic water balance and how can we achieve these optimal water savings. Okay, so as I mentioned, the design guidelines, these were one of the really key features that it became an agreement between, or contract between Landcorp and the buyers of the lots at WGV. So the design guidelines really carefully outline for residents how they are to, building design, garden design, behaviour initiatives to really stick with those One Planet Living principles and really, I guess, activate those initiatives on the site so they can be maximised for sustainability, and particularly as we're talking about here today, water efficiency outcomes. So that's just some of the examples of residential housing that's solar passive, climate-oriented design, north-facing and maximising flow of air and that sort of thing. So here's some of the efficiency for energy requirements that were included in the design guidelines. So just to give you, I guess, a bit of an overview of that, but probably today we really want to look at these ones. So the water efficiency requirements here. So these design controls were really put in place so residents could see how that they could what they have to, put in place within their homes and also externally, so in terms of garden irrigation, etc. The design guidelines are also accompanied by a sustainability package, so Landcorp is upgrading for residents to have a rainwater tank installed and various other initiatives if people actually do adhere to their design guidelines. So these work in tandem to really achieve everything that's set out to do. One of the really interesting housing typologies within WGV is the Gen Y house. So this was actually a house that was designed as a result of a competition run by Landcorp. So it was really to look at how architects or young architects could design an affordable, sustainable house for young people. So the Gen Y house is actually 3 one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartments. So I think the aim of them is to meet sustainability and affordability criteria without compromising livability. And so I guess the really key water feature that we can see here, just by this diagram, is that the Gen Y house has got a 10,000 litre underground rainwater tank in its kind of central courtyard, and that's for all the houses to use for flushing in the toilets and also cold water wash in the laundry. So I guess this is just demonstrating one of the unique features of the site at this kind of shared living scale. So it's not just the single resi lots that are adhering to these water saving initiatives, but also all the different multi-res that we're seeing on the site there. As part of so this is just an example of the data logging, metering and data logging that will be on at Gen Y. So as I mentioned before, people will be having all their data, all their water use and energy, but we're talking about water, will be logged, meter logged, and people will be able to access that on cloud-based technology. So they'll be able to see their water use, and so research partners and the City of Fremantle, so we'll be able to look at leak detection and look at water use, how it's tracking over time. And this is just a snapshot of what that user interface looks like for residents. So we can see here, that was the Gen Y use throughout September there, and you can see the use of mains water versus rainwater there and the significant savings, I guess, that having that tank there has. So as I mentioned, there's the community bore as well. So because the WGV site was an ex-school site, it had an existing bore for public open space. So now it's been not only used for public open space, but also for the residential lots for irrigation. This is all connected via a purple pipe. There's no tap connection at all to the community bore for health and safety regulations. Department of Water were able, the ex-Department of Water, were able to assist quite easily with getting the licensing for this and to get it all up and running. So I think when we're looking at implementation of a community bore, WGV does present quite a good case study at looking how this can be rolled out, and great lessons to be learnt from that as well. So here's just some photos of the process of this taking place. So we can see the bore and the infrastructure here. So we've got the pump shed and the storage tank there. So all neatly encompassed in the landscape design. And then also here just a bit of the look of the neat infrastructure there. All right, whizzing through these. Stormwater drainage as well is a key feature on site. So we're seeing these stormwater infiltration areas, which are really key to making sure the vegetation on the site is at a premium. So I guess a lot of the time we have the discussions about urban infill perhaps being at the expense of urban greening. So I think WGV's really tried to ensure that urban greening is a positive an attribute of the site, and there's a lot of effort was done into tree retention and setting canopy targets and that sort of thing. And so having this stormwater drainage to actually feed into some of those vegetation initiatives as well is really key for that holistic management. And the SUMP, so on the site there is a typical SUMP, so you can see on the photo over there. typical sump, fenced off. It actually serves for the catchment area for the whole of White Gum Valley, so not the stormwater for the WGV site, but the whole catchment area. So one of the key proposals that JBA and Landcorp and etc. worked together to achieve was looking at how we can rejuvenate this sump to really make it still a functional attribute of the area, but something that people can use. So instead of having it fenced off, rejuvenation works took place to open it up. And we can see here, this is the finished product. So that's the gem wire house, actually looking towards that. That's the sump now. It's revegetated, you know, in keep with the native, you know, the vegetation requirements of the local area. People can walk through it. It's a real additional public open space for the residents that are in the White Gum Valley site that have the, you know, smaller block sizes, but also really importantly, it's giving back to the broader community. So urban infill really needs to, when it's at a higher density, you know, please the surrounding suburb residents. And I think this is a really key feature of the site. And something that I think was a real partnership approach to achieve this. So City of Fremantle were very supportive of it, and it's a really great outcome. So interesting. And of course the sumps monitored, the water is monitored in the sump as well. Went during rainfall events, and here's just some of the data feedback from that. So we can see it's functioning perfectly as it should. So we have a rainfall event, it fills up, and then the water subsides away over time. So not only is it looking good, but it's still serving its purpose functionally, which is a great outcome. So yeah, as I mentioned before, the urban greening aspects were a really large part of the WGV site, and I think the community bore is also another component that really feeds into this. So having that additional water supply, non-potable water supply that's not using mains water to produce urban greening throughout the site. And also I think there's been a lot of care taken to select species that are also beneficial to the community. So we're seeing edible trees and that sort of variety around. So once again, looking at those all over principles of the One Planet Living incorporated into these sort of aspects. So I just whizzed through all the water initiatives there that have been part of WGV, and I think what's really key is that not only has it been a demonstration site about all these different measures and how they work together to achieve water savings, but it's also a really important opportunity to share the knowledge and learning. So WGV has had a number of tours conducted on site, which has been great. So we've had industry, government, international visitors, interstate visitors, a whole range of people coming down to the site, walking around, showing firsthand how it actually works and what the different components are and how they work together. And the feedback from some of those tours has been great. Like, people really appreciate being able to witness it firsthand and being able to see how it works and hopefully take that knowledge away with them and share it with others. White Gum Valley is also one of the water sensitive cities case studies, so there's a great document there if anybody's interested in what would like to read on, and it's also one of Water Corporation's waterwise developments. So there's a lot of other things going on here, so if you've got time, have a look. And also it features as a example in the series Density by Design. So this is looking at other infill developments around Australia, and WGV is a feature here. So it's really great to have a look at this if you've got time, and there's actually a water production coming out soon, so grab the website and go and have a look at the really great videos that have been put together.